And a good evening. Welcome out to the patio here at the Sheila Humphrey Rec Center. Time now to talk Lamar University football with Coach Pete Rossomando. The Cardinals are now off to a great start. Winners of 4 in a row, ranked 20th in the country, have the National Special Teams Player of the Week, and just a great job against a Nichols team on Saturday. This team, has bounced around. They've been to the playoffs the last few years. And, if you're going to start, you might as well start with an 85-yard touchdown pass on the first play of the game.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a good start. There was a lot of ifs in between, but I think that was a great way to start the game and certainly a great way to finish the game with the punt return. So. Yeah,
and we're talking about Blake when he, and Aiden hits him in stride. Is that something you drew up? You looked down and said, "Hey, we're going downtown. We're going deep on the first play."
Yeah, we kind of. I mean, obviously, you don't draw it up that way all the time. I mean, you hope that that's the way it's going to look. But yeah, Blake Thomas and Isaiah Jones on either side, and we knew one of those guys was going to shake free, and they played a low safety into the boundary, so he took Blake's side, and obviously the Aiden threw a great pass, and 85 yards later, we were celebrating.
Up 7-0. Then before you know it, it's 14-7 Nichols. And from that point on, you only gave up 3 more points. So after they got those 2 touchdowns, the defense gelled, got together, and did their jobs.
Yeah, they played great. They played great for 3 quarters at the end of the game. We got to. Teams are doing a good job of scouting us and getting some things against us early, and then once we settle in and we get a feel for it, the guys do a good job. But we got to start a little faster this week, certainly, and hopefully in the future when we get to play all these great conference teams we got to play coming up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that East Texas A&M here in a little bit. Not an easy place to play, but overall, taking a look at again, you mix it up well. Several different receivers touched the ball. Several different running backs touched the ball, and that's a good issue when you're that deep. At each of those skilled positions.
Yeah, I mean, I think the receivers, really all 5 of the guys that played in the game, I thought played really, really well, and they blocked extremely well and hard and physical, and I think that's one of the pieces that maybe we've been missing the last couple of years is that group really taking charge of the game and taking it over. We've had some really good ones, as you know. Savon Ray is, he's near and dear to my heart and a great player, but these guys are all really super talented, and Blake's certainly one of those guys, but I think they're really starting to come along. And then the running backs are all really good players. I think those guys have really played well. We used Major in some Wildcat stuff, and was able to give us a little bit of a spark that way.
Talking about that guy, we seem like we talk about him every week, contributing to the offense. Talking about number 2 out there, Major Bowden, a kid that won a state championship in high school at quarterback, and you could utilize him, and he could catch the football. He could return a punt if you need him to return a punt. He could run the football. He could throw the football. I guess he's your Heinz 57.
Yeah, he pretty much does everything. He's one of those guys that you can count on every day. He's going to come to work, and he's going to do the things he needs to do to help us be successful. But one of the things that he is probably doing, what I would call yeoman's work, would be he's on our punt team. And he's one of the gunners, and he also has to come in and block and do some things in our protection that he's not really used to doing, and he's really done an amazing job for us this year. And without him, the punt team wouldn't operate the way it is right now.
Aiden, another start for him. Seems like he's getting better and more comfortable and with the offense each week.
Yeah, I mean, we had 273 yards at halftime of offense. You're thinking at that point, hey, we're going to have a stellar day on offense. And, came out in the second half, didn't quite play as well in the second half as he did in the first half. And, we had to obviously take up, move the ball to score in the second half, and we weren't able to do that. We had to do it on special teams.
The offensive line seems like they're getting better in each week, and assignment football with that line. And with the running backs we have, all we need is a little crease.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah. They're a great group. They work hard. They practice every day. I think that's always a key for those guys is that they're able to practice. They're able to do the things that are necessary during the course of the week to get themselves ready for game day. And it was a physical ball game out there, and those guys I think matched the physicality of of nickels and really started to move those guys off the ball in the second half.
Quarterback situation, we mentioned Aiden. Of course, Robert Coleman getting injured in that South Dakota game.
Mm-hmm.
What's his status? And
practice this week. Practice today. Really, today was his first full go practice, so he's out there practicing, and we're excited about his recovery, and we'll see how the week goes and decide at the end what we're going to do.
But as of right now, Aiden, your starter on Saturday.
Correct. Yep.
On the defensive side of the ball, again, those 2 touchdowns and then just hold them to a field goal after that. Was adjustments you made to stop those guys?
Some adjustments. Yeah, some adjustments, but more so the players adjusted to kind of what they were doing, and then those guys decided just to go make plays. Paul Amodia and some of those guys in the secondary just decided, hey, we weren't going to give cushion anymore, and we're just going to go play and get in their face. And then, obviously we did a really good job of pressuring the quarterback from the front guys. And then Faulkner probably had his best game of the year from a tackle standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. So it was great to see that.
I thought both Braden and Paul, both their names called out quite a bit on Saturday.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 guys you just mentioned, and they did. And it seems like each week maybe a different guy steps up.
Yeah, I think they do. There's enough good players there, and enough guys that I think are, working really hard to get better each day. And, one of the things we really talked about a lot this week was focusing more on us and less on our opponent, and us getting better each and every day. Sometimes when you get in the midst of the season, you're focused so much on who you're playing. You focus so much on the scheme when really you got to really improve. Each week you got to improve your, your blocking, your tackling, all those things that make a team better towards the end of the season.
Any recruits coming this past weekend?
We had a few. Yeah, we had a few here.
And that's kind of exciting, though, for those future Cardinals.
Yeah. It's great here. Because when you win, they come in the locker room after the game. They're able to see the guys celebrating and having a good time and actually being around each other, and actually see our guys actually enjoy being around each other. So
on Facebook, I did see the school song. That's a lot of fun. I know it is, especially after a big win. They just get out there and the guys come up and they start singing the Lamar fight song. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, one of the things that, when I got here, they hadn't sung that song in a while, so they think they forgot the words. So each camp we get the guys together and we make them get in the room, and we let the upperclassmen sing it. We let all the younger guys sing it, and then they all do it together at the end. And, just trying to teach them the culture and what we do after we win. And that's obviously one of those special things that you got to win to do it. If we don't win, we don't do it. So I think it's something that our guys look forward to each week with a hard-fought win.
You mentioned the word special. We're going to get a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about special. We're talking about a National Player of the Week. We talk more with Coach Pete Rossomando on News Talk 560 KLVI. Harold Mann along with Lamar football coach Pete Rossomando talking Cardinals football. Again, we are at the patio out here at the Sheila Humphrey Recreation Center. Come on out here. Check us out each Wednesday at 7 o'clock during the duration of the football season. Coach, we talked about special teams. We're tied at 17-17. Just over a couple minutes to go. And a punt, Kendon Fusilier takes it at the 12, split those 2 defenders, cut to the near sideline, and he was gone. He had a wall of blockers. Yeah. He had a wall of blockers leading the way.
He sure
and
did.
That was really exciting, especially for a local kid, any kid.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really excited. And for the second straight week, he is the Southland Conference Special Teams Player of the Week, but he is also the National Special Team Player of the Week.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I would say, Kendon would tell you, Jamadia Whitby, who was a special teams nightmare for the other team on Saturday, he set it up with an unbelievable block right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then you had my son Nick Rossomando and Kendrick Malone and Nair Jones. All those guys had key blocks on the play to keep the block in front and also spring him free. And then once he got in the open, he was gone. So obviously that was all him from that point. So
It was, but again, as the names you mentioned, and I like the fact that you bring up those special teams players' names, because a lot of time you don't hear about them.
no,
Not
unless
you
they
get
make a play.
you go holding number whatever. That's the only time you hear from them. But it's great that they set that up, and after Kendon crossed the goal line, we go up 24-17. It just the place was excited. Your sideline, the fans, just everybody was all pumped up, and you just knew that was it. That the Cards were going to get out of there with a win.
Well, I think it's always cool when you watch your guys score and you see who comes over to them and how those guys celebrate and how happy they are for them. And I think obviously Kendon's a captain, but I think he's endeared himself to everyone on that football team by his work ethic, his leadership, his attention to detail, all those things that he does well each and every day. His mentality of, hey, just get me the ball and I'll make a play. Like, that doesn't always come along. Guys will say, I want the ball, until it's time to do what's necessary to get the ball. And Kendon does all those things right to get the ball and make sure that he's doing all the things that the team needs to win. And I think it's always fun when the guys are so excited. I mean, there was a row of guys waiting for him to come off the field, and I always think that's so impressive when I watch a guy go through that.
Obviously I'm a little biased because we also on KLVI do Nederland, and that's where he went. This is a guy that nobody wanted coming out of high school. He was not recruited. He was a preferred walk-on his freshman year at Lamar. You got here the very next year and watched footage on him today. Let's get this kid a scholarship.
Yeah, no, for sure. We did that, and he earned it every day. He earns it every day. We say all the time, one of the expressions we use is, hey, rent's due every day. And he pays his rent every day. There's not a day that goes by that, he has some bad days. I mean, everybody does. Yeah. But he is out there and he is grinding every day. And his leadership is starting to really come out. He was always a pretty shy guy, a guy that just said, hey, man, watch me. I'm not going to say a whole lot. And now he's really, when he does speak, everybody listens because they know it comes from a place of, of love and a really, how are you going to win? Because that guy's a winner.
With him, Tristan, Braden, among your captains.
Yeah.
Are they good off the field? Great leaders off the field as well.
Of course. or else they probably wouldn't have been elected captain. I think that's.
And Devin, of course,
and Rob Coleman,
right.
Who's all those guys were exactly what you want people to see your culture that what it should look like. And Christian Pugh is a guy that has grown so much in that leadership role, where before he was just a really good football player and everybody loved him because he's a good dude. Now he's just really trying to take other guys with him to the promised land, and I think that's always cool. And I think that's always a sign that you're doing all the right things as a coaching staff and as a program, and his teammates are helping him. So I think that's pretty cool.
I don't get a chance a whole lot because I'm watching the game, but every once in a while I will sneak a peek down to the sideline. I'll see the receivers and offensive linemen when the defenses are all together. The units stick together even on the sideline during the game, and that says a lot.
Yeah, those guys. I think the other day there was a group of receivers that went to Sushi Masa, and I think the O-line went there too the same day, and those guys kind of met there. And I think it's cool those guys do things together. Linebackers go out on Thursdays to Buffalo Wild Wings and get wings and watch the games. And I always think that's good when guys do that. It really builds the bonds within the units.
No, do you got one particular player say, "Hey, I got this"?
I don't know about that.
Dutch Treat or
I don't have no
or one
idea.
of them, or like
I don't get involved in that stuff.
Or like I asked one of the kids, one before, who says I forgot my wallet, things like that. But no, it's a family, and that's what I've liked and really admire about what you've done here and really respect. You brought together kids that are good on the field, off the field, and in the classroom because they're here to get degrees.
Oh yeah,
and they leave here with a degree from Lamar University.
Yeah, that's why we do what we do. And I say, everyone worries about NIL and transfer portal, and it's still a relationship business. It's still about building up young men, taking them from where they are now to where you want them to be when they graduate, and having a just really a relentlessness about you to make sure that they do it the right way, and you hold them accountable to it. And I think that's. Since I've been doing this and the guys that I've worked for have always done that, and that's what we're going to do here. And, we got the support, the backing of our administration to get that done. And I think just the other day we had a meeting with the APR. We got the highest APR we've had in a long time. And I think that's a credit to obviously investment. It's a credit to our players that are doing all the right thing to get eligible and make sure that they're achieving academically.
And in this day of the transfer portal, you have a lot of kids that could leave that don't, and that says a lot about this program.
Yeah, and I think some will. I think it's going to happen, and it has. But I told our players, my goal every day when I wake up is to make their experience here at Lamar better, and whatever I got to do, sometimes I'm sure I walk by Mr. O'Malley's office and he's closing the door because he doesn't want me to come in and ask for something else. So, but you got to ask, and sometimes the answer is no, but you got to keep asking, and you got to keep working to make their experiences better, because that's the only way they're going to stay someplace, and they're going to invest in what you do. If you make it just transactional and not transformational, they're going to leave.
I like the Mr. O'Malley. We are talking Lamar University football. We are out at the patio at the Sheila Humphrey Recreational Center on campus of Lamar. We're back as we get ready to head up to Commerce on Saturday, talking Lamar football on the Pete Rossomando Show on News Talk 560 KLVI. All right, News Talk 560 KLVI. Harold Mann with you, along with Coach Pete Rossomando, talking Lamar University football. Cardinals 4-1, ranked 20th in the country, which I think is a kick in the ass. So, but nonetheless, I mean, we keep on winning and we don't move up in the rankings. But bottom line, just go out there and win. Who cares what people rank you? As long as you keep winning, you'll get where we need to be.
Yeah, last I checked, we're not in the playoffs yet. So we just got to keep doing our jobs and getting out there and doing our things on Saturdays, and we just know that if we do that and we do all the things that are necessary, we'll be where we want to be in November.
By the way, I think Matt's out here. Matt Krause, who helps me do the road games and some home games, he called the punt return. He did. He called it. He said, before the ball even left a foot of the punter on the air, he says, Ken is going to return this for a touchdown.
So I don't know if you saw this, but he had a 64-yard punt, the punt before, right?
Right. Yeah.
And when Kennan started to go back, we looked, and our whole sideline was vacant. He could have ran down our side. If he was able to catch the ball, he was out. He was gone. So we were like, okay, we felt pretty good about it, and we obviously called the return the next one, and we were able to get it.
All right, again, 24-17 over Nichols. Thanks for all the folks that came out. Of course, obviously,
thank you guys.
Being the way I am, I want a lot more bodies out there. We need to get our fans out there. A week from Saturday, it's homecoming.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that, of course, next Wednesday. But on the 18th, it's also Hall of Honor Day. So much going on the 18th, and with the homecoming game against UTRGV.
Yeah,
but
good team.
Yeah, they're putting up a lot of points. They're putting up a lot of points.
So we need to have those stands packed, and we need to have students there, families. I mean, let's. It's 3 o'clock. It's a 3 o'clock game. I noticed some people that said they didn't know it was 3 o'clock game, but it's 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
From here on out, we get into conference play. We go to 3 o'clock, and the tailgaters were still out there. I know the Silver Bullet gang was there, and they're still here. They're here now.
Great support.
But the whole parking lot was lined with tailgaters. It was pretty cool to watch, and it is really a great atmosphere. Our team has put on a great show each and every week. Dr. Titus and Student Affairs, they've just done an amazing job of making this a big-time experience for not only for our players, but for our fans and for everybody else that's coming out to watch the football games.
Another thing was pink out. We're in October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, with teaming up with Christus.
Yeah.
You had your honorary captains out there, and that was nice. And
yeah.
It says a lot.
We let our guys, wear pink if they want to honor somebody, and obviously it's a great month for that. And we've had several brave women on our staff, and really in our football family that have battled and won the battles against it, and we obviously want to celebrate them.
And it doesn't matter who you are or where you're at, somebody. If you haven't been personally impacted, somebody who's went through it, And and I thought it was really neat that you had the honorary captains out there for the coin toss.
Well, the guy who sits right next to me in my office, the guy who's our director of football operations, Joe Person, his wife Lanita, she battled and won, and she's in recovery, and obviously that hits home when it's someone that you spend all that time with, and you know how it affects family. So obviously we're blessed that she's with us, and we're continuing to hope that other people are finding success in treatment.
I don't know how we're going to get there, but we're in Commerce. It's a zigzag. Matter of fact, you follow your GPS, and the first time you see a Commerce sign is when you're like 7 miles from Commerce. You just trusted the GPS. You go over, I think, Interstate 30 over the overpass. There's a sign saying Commerce, 7 miles. Okay, I'm going the right way. But that's a big game coming up. Obviously, all games are big conference games. They are 1-4.
Yeah.
But look at this. SMU, Florida State. They've played some tough teams. Grambling, North Carolina Central, but they bounced back last week on the road at Northwestern State for a 40-10 win.
Yeah.
So don't let that 1-4 record think, hey, we're going to go up there and get this. This is not a bad football team.
No,
went up there last year,
it's good
and it took a late field goal to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of teams in our conference are playing really good people. Nichols played 2 FBS teams. East Texas has played 2 FBS, really Power 4 teams. HCU played Nebraska. We played North Texas, who's undefeated. So, and we played South Dakota, who was at the time ranked number 4. And then we played, Central Arc. So we played some good people, and I know they have too. And they're a good football team. They got a good quarterback who's former Cardinal, actually, Ron Pease, who can throw the ball, run. He's kind of a dual threat guy, and they got really good receivers, and they have a good scheme, and they're going to get after you on the offensive side of the ball, and defense, man, they got some dogs, as we would call them, on defense, and they get after you. So we gotta bring it all on that day, and we got to play really well.
You talked about Ron Pease, 3 touchdown passes, 312 yards passing. And he's also not afraid to put it under the arm and take off.
Yeah, no, he is, and he's got the ability to do that. Played linebacker here. I'm not sure how we missed on the quarterback this before I got here, but he can certainly sling it. So
at running back, they got 2 different guys, KJ and EJ. KJ Schenkel and EJ Oakman, a couple of guys that are pretty good running backs.
Good quality backs. I mean, really, really good backs. Guys that gain yards, get to their nose. They're physical. They know the schemes. They're good players. Yeah, for sure.
And receivers, Devin Matthews averages about 80 yards a game receiving. And then you have Christian Jourdain, another guy that's
he's their guy.
Their athlete.
Yeah, Christian's their guy for sure.
Number 7.
He played against us last year, had a big game against us. He's a really sure-handed guy that can run, and he's really good at the nuances of playing the position, and I think he's probably one of the best offensive players in our conference. And the Matthews guy can scoot, and I think because Christian's getting all that attention, he's getting most of the yards.
Now, will we see more run? Will we see more pass? Do they balance it out? What are they going to show you offensively?
I think they're going to try to be balanced, but they like to sling it. They got the receivers to do it, and they're going to try to stretch the field on you for sure.
On the defensive side, what will they show you?
Mostly 4 down. I mean, they were 4 down front last year, but they switched to an odd when they played us for some reason. I'm not sure why, but so we got prepared for both of them, and aggressive defensive structure. They play with their safeties down low and in the run fits all over the place. So, we're gonna have to put receivers' bodies on them and block them so that we can get to the next level when we run the football. So yeah, we got some our work cut out for us.
Well, they have given up a lot of points, with the exception of last week. They only gave up 10 in Natchitoches and Northwestern State. But when I say they gave up points to Florida State.
Yeah.
They gave up points to SMU. So with them, like Lamar going against great non-conference opponents, that gets them ready for conference play, and they stacked up their schedule. So I mean, I think defensively they're going to show some different.
I think Florida State beat Alabama the week before they played them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beat the brakes off Alabama, to be honest with you. So, yeah, they were coming into a buzzsaw, and it was at Florida State. And, I think they're a really quality defensive football team. They got good skill on the perimeter. They like to get in your face and play man coverage. All those things are going to challenge you to be able to get rid of the ball and make good decisions, and all those things that we're still playing with a guy that's only started 3 games. So they're going to make it difficult for him.
And again, we were up there last year, but with the way the schedule works, why we're going there 2 years in a row is because UTRGV came in, so they had to restructure all the schedules. We'll probably have to go down to Edinburgh next year, but boy, I'm glad we don't have to go down there this year. That's a long trip. They're coming here next Saturday. And I talked to you about this a little bit on Monday during your weekly press conference. We have a lot of kids from East Texas. We have a lot of guys, young men from the Metroplex area, and Commerce isn't all that far from either one of those locations. So I remember last year, it almost looked like the crowd was even.
Yeah,
a lot of red and white out there.
I mean, Devin Gibbs is from 40 minutes away from there, so he's going to have a lot of people. We got a bunch of Kilgore guys that are going to bring a whole busload of people out there. We got we probably have 17 guys from the Metroplex. Ben Woodard, who's just out here, he's from Plano, and we got DeMarcus Rankin, he's from Lancaster. So we got a lot of guys, DeSoto, we got a lot of guys from that area that are going to bring a lot of people. So and hopefully they'll wear red. That's
really exciting when because the guys, they're going to be playing maybe a little different level because they're playing in front of family and friends.
Yeah, they love that. I think that's always great about when you choose Lamar, right? I think when you choose to come to school in your home state, right, your parents can come see you play each week because it's only, the furthest guy away is 5 hours away. Yeah. So I think it's always good, when that's why we recruit Texas, because we want to fill our stand. That's why we recruit local, I think those are all things that we're excited about.
Going to get another break in here. Again, we are at the patio here at the Sheila Humphrey Rec Center. Invite you to come out and see us every Wednesday. We talk Lamar football with News Talk 560 KLVI and Coach Pete Rossomando. There you are.
They're here.
They're here.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming out again, for supporting Lamar University athletics and Lamar University football. Cardinals 24-17 win over Nichols, and getting ready to hit the road to East Texas A&M. If you're asking who, Texas A&M Commerce, who, East Texas State. I think they finally branded themselves, and since they've gone into the A&M system, we'll know them from here on out at East Texas A&M, because last year when we played them, they were A&M Commerce.
Yeah, and I think they changed the next week.
They may have.
I think it was the next week or maybe 2 weeks after, but I remember them putting a big publicity out about changing.
Over the last handful of years, we've had 2 Southland Conference schools do that. Houston Baptist went to Houston Christian.
Yeah. So
went to HBU to HCU. Again, we get ready to take on the Lions of East Texas A&M on Saturday. By the way, that's a 6 o'clock kickoff from up in East Texas. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to study it all that much, the conference schedule. What do you think of how the conference played so well?
Well, I think there were a lot of surprises last week. When you look at, the SFA UIW score, and you look at the, the Sela McNeese score, I think everybody kind of, oh man, those teams are we knew they were going to be pretty good. But man, I think they're really playing at a high level, and, in some competitive games. So I think, that's, that's really good for the conference when SFA and Southeastern are all ranked in the top 25. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a lot for the conference.
And I think, we've been talking about making the conference relevant again, getting 2 teams, 3 teams in, because, the CAA is not what it used to be. And I think the Southland is way better than it used to be right now. And I think that we're certainly deserving of 2 playoff spots, I think. Especially with the outside competition that we're playing.
Yeah,
we're playing legitimate teams from outside the conference. And we played South Dakota, and we played Central Arc, and North Texas, right. And then I think I want to say that UIW played Northern Arizona, and they played ACU, and
I think HCU has
SFA
played U of H.
Right.
They went to Houston, played a Big 12 school.
So I think that we're doing all the things we're supposed to do. We got a great commissioner in Chris Grant, and he's pushing what Southland football is really all about. So we need to get 2 teams in, and the only way you can do that is continue to win.
Yeah, and we've had multi-bid league before in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's deserving. When the CAA loses Delaware and a bunch of other schools, I think it sort of opens things up for a conference like the Southland.
I mean, I'm not obviously taking anything away from these other conferences, but the Missouri Valley, they get multi. The Big Sky, they get multi. But they've got some talented teams.
Oh, great teams.
But so does the Southland.
We do, yeah. And again, I think we're not putting any conferences down.
Right.
Not those conferences for sure. But the CAA is a different conference. They're just different than they were 8, 7, 6 years ago. They're way different. So I think, and we have bolstered the conference by SFA coming back in. Start UTRGV. And I think. Obviously UIW's had continued success, and Lamar is now coming around, and I think McNeese is a historic school that's had success. So I think the Southland's a school that's got to keep a conference got to keep coming.
You look at UTRGV, and that's again a first-year program. They're obviously down in Edinburgh. I think this is a school as the year progresses, but not even this year. They're going to get better. They're going to make some noise in this conference. And that makes this conference, solid from top to bottom.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think every school in our conference has good head coaches. I think they all work really hard to make their teams better, and I think it's showing on the field where teams are really competitive in non-conference games.
Central Arkansas, of course, a couple weeks ago, another former Southland school.
Yeah.
That's lined up against you as we talk about the non-conference. Looking down the road, what can you tell us in years to come? Maybe some non-conference matchups that the Cardinals are going to have.
No, I can't think past East Texas right now. Quite honestly, I'm really just focused on this and really making. I mean, next year we got to go to Idaho. We got a bunch of different trips that we got to make next year. So we got to go to Abilene Christian. So I think there's some trips out there we got to make. So.
Hey, got to go over there and beat them.
Hey, Beaumont, baby. We're flying right out of Beaumont. All of them.
That is
all 3 of them.
Yeah, we have
Get the
3
checkbooks out.
Three flights next year?
Well, I don't think 3, but we want 3, but I don't think we're going to get 3.
Yeah, but no, I do. That makes it a lot easier.
2 for sure.
That makes it a lot. No, there'll be 3. Unless we host that playoff game. There'll be a flight. Going to get our final break in. Again, we are out at the patio here on the campus of Lamar University every Wednesday throughout the duration of the football season. We talk Cardinals football with Coach Pete Rossomando. We're back on News Talk 560 KLVI. News Talk 560 KLVI. Harold Mann, Coach Pete Rossomando out here at the patio at the Sheila Humphrey Recreation Center. We've had this show on the road before, and we want to thank everybody who's hosted this show in the years past, but I love it out here on campus. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I could get some work done and come right over here. I don't have to go trekking across the town.
That's what we thought about. That's the only reason we did this. We said, Coach, by the way, if we fly for the Abilene Christian game next year, it'll be one of the quickest flights ever because the game will be here.
I know. Thanks.
Anyway, Harold and Coach Pete Rossomando with you. We're have about 8 more minutes to go before we get to the top of the hour. Again, thank you, everybody, for coming out. I really appreciate you. That shows your support not only for Lamar football, but for Lamar athletics and Lamar University as a whole. And we do appreciate you coming out here every Wednesday.
Yeah.
A little bit about, let's just talk about your recruiting. I know you can't mention anybody by name.
Yeah.
But just talk about how that goes and how you get that in, because you're working all week and you really can't get out every Friday night to a high school football stadium somewhere, but you try to when you're at home. How's the recruiting process work during the season?
It never stops. We're always on phones and text messages and on Twitter and getting guys messages through that and making sure that everybody's up to date on what's happening with Lamar football, and then getting out every Friday for home games or local games. And like this week, we're going to the DeSoto Duncanville game, before the East Texas game on Friday night, because we're recruiting a bunch of guys from both schools, and obviously Caleb Holmes and Keytron Simpson and Nehemiah Bonner. Those guys are all from those two schools. And
Well, will they go to the game as well?
No. We got stuff going on in the hotel, but Caleb Holmes and Nehemiah, their two dads they'll square off.
Oh, really?
Caleb's dad's secondary coach at DeSoto, and Nehemiah's dad is the defensive coordinator at Duncanville. So it's going to be the two dads going at it. And then they'll be in the stands on Saturday.
Sitting side by side, rooting for their kids.
Right. Exactly.
How about that? Locally, I mean, we've had several, as to do the air quotes here, verbal commitments, and we're not going to talk about those kids until they sign their name on the paper, but local talent as well. And it's good to see the kids stay home.
It is. We're working really hard on a couple other guys around here that we think we're going to get to to commit to Lamar, and a great opportunity here, and obviously a great experience for them to be home, play in front of their hometown people, and get them in the stands. And everyone would always say, hey, we want Lamar to recruit local. We're recruiting local. We just need them to stay here and to make us great, just like Kendon Fuselier, just like Mason Wenchel, just like all the guys that we have. Huh?
Christian Pugh out of Westbrook.
Pugh out of Westbrook. I mean, we got so many guys from the local area that are really showing out on the field each and every week. Reagan Langston. I mean, guys like that their parents are out to see them every single game, and they can go home if they want to, or their parents could come see them during the week, take them out to dinner. I mean, all those things they're just it's such a blessing to have that with guys that are local. 3
Lumberton kids on the team.
3 Lumberton kids, yeah. One of them, eats me out of house and home. So.
He doesn't stay here and.
No, he stays here, and then he comes home and eats us out of house and home. So he does both.
Hey, that's the way it should be. Right. I know we pretty well covered everything in the last few minutes of our weekly show. We like doing little tidbits here and there. We talked about the recruiting here. Time flies, I guess. When they started the early signing period, it used to be in February, but now it's in December. Do you like that early signing period better?
I didn't really have a say in it. I mean, we just adjust to what they give us, and we just go move forward. It doesn't really have an effect. The one thing that it makes us do is have official visits during the season, which we've never done at this level, because you just don't have the same amount of staff that the FBS schools have. That they have recruiting departments, they have people that do on-campus recruiting, and we're all doing it. Matt Canada, who's our O-line coach, is our recruiting coordinator, and Joe Person and Caleb Huerta. Those guys are running the operations part, but it's only 2 guys. And then we have some volunteers that help us show kids around. So it's an all hands on deck experience when they get here, and they get a lot of Lamar coaches. I know that they get a lot of opportunities to be around us.
How many times can you go out? Can you visit a kid? Like
5.
You could go out, you visit a school 5 times, or 5 total times during football?
Well, during football, we only do it 1 time, but we try to get out and see a kid at least 1 time throughout the course of the season.
About 3.5 minutes to go before we wrap it up. And as always, we like talking about what's happening. What's the rest of the week? I know you got a long bus ride on Friday, but what's the schedule for the week?
Yeah, we have, this is our first road game since North Texas. I mean, really, when you think about it, I know we played at Texas Southern, but we slept in our own bed. So we are going to practice in the morning on Friday. We're going to get on the bus at about 11:30, and we're going to head up to, I think we're staying in Rockwall. So we're staying in Rockwall and on the lake out there in the Hilton, and we'll get there. We'll have dinner. We'll have some meetings and some opportunities for recovery, and get these guys ready to go. And then, up in the morning, eating breakfast, getting walkthroughs in and meetings, and then let the guys get off their feet for a little while, and then come down for pregame meal. And, we get together for a short team meeting before we get on the bus and drive about 35 minutes to get to Commerce. And that's where we'll play East Texas. So we're excited about it. It's not the Southland Conference, unfortunately, has some of the most meager accommodations as far as visiting locker rooms. And so we want to get there as close to the time we go out as possible.
Usually, with a 6 o'clock kickoff, what time do you like getting to the stadium?
I like to get there 2 hours and 15 minutes before. That gives us a perfect opportunity to get out on the field, do our thing, but still get ready to go for our pregame activities. Usually start about an hour and 5 minutes before.
Mentioned earlier that the Robert Coleman's returning to practice, starting to get back into things on that shoulder injury. How healthy are you overall coming into this game on Saturday?
I think we're as healthy as you could probably be at this time. We got some guys that are dinged up. They're practicing. None of them are missing right now, but obviously we got to be a little aware of what we do with them through the course of the week, live and those types of things. And I like to practice hard and I like to practice live and good on good. And so we're going to do it. We just got to be careful on who we put in there and making sure those guys, when they get to Saturday, they're at their best. So, but yeah, Robert's really the only guy that's kind of out right now. Everybody else is practicing, just not, some of them aren't full go just quite yet.
First conference road game. Got to tee it up and get after them.
They were our first conference road game a year ago.
Yes.
So,
yep.
They were. So
that turned out.
And that turned out to be a barn burner.
It did. The Ben's first career field goal was one that put the Lamar on top in the closing seconds.
No, that wasn't his first one. He kicked 3 that game, and one of his first field goal. Remember, I told him, I said, "Hey Ben, I'm going to get you out there." Probably inside 35 yards, and his first one was a 46-yarder.
I got to get out of here. Coach,
right.
Thank you. We'll see you Saturday up in Commerce. Hey, thanks, everybody, for coming out. The Pete Rossomando Show here on News Talk 560 KLVI.